Now, today's guest, I think, is so fitting. She's amazing. And, you know, one of the, I think, quote unquote, dark spots in the world, a lot of people say, is social media. They're scared of it. It's a scary thing. People, you know, it's talked about how it's the root of depression and all these different things. Well, I believe wholeheartedly there is so much bright and so much good to come from this. Now, Onna Macfarlane, and it's Onna, not Anna, Onna like O-N, but it's spelled Anna. So Onna Macfarlane, she's a marketing expert who coaches companies and brands how to connect and convert their audience in social media. She runs popular Instagram accounts, the best Instagram accounts. She runs at Kids Are the Worst, at Things Are the Worst, and at Onna is the Worst. She's really the best, although her name says otherwise. They're really, really, really funny accounts. You need to go follow them. But among other social media accounts, she has a fan base of more than 700,000 people internationally, not just in the US, and it is ever growing. She has written multiple guides, including the Get Smart and the Let's Talk guide, which they're awesome. I have them. I actually printed them out. And a TikTok guide, which I just printed that too, where it helps families. It gives families tools to have good conversations about tech and social media with your kids. And it helps create successful plans and contracts for you to use at home. She has a great website, onnamacfarlane.com. You want to check it out. But guys, I love her so much. So that's just Anna's little bio, but you should know Onna and I don't even know how many years it's been. So we actually went to the same high school. I love this woman to death. I'm going to figure out how to pull her on right now. Invite onto screen. But Onna has been while we're waiting for her to pop on screen, she's been an amazing personal mentor for me. There she is. It is Onna, not Anna. It is
Onna, not Anna. I'm just like posting on my Instagram that I'm going live with you right now. So
see, she is like really, she can multitask. For me, I
real life.
Quiet room to even post on social. And Anna's always been the one who's like, Heidi, don't overthink it. Just post.
Nope. Do it.
You know, but I was just gonna say, a lot of people don't know this, but Onna was really the one to consult and help transform with Chris and Heidi, our Transform app brand, get some social media wheels under us. And she's always the one where when I feel stressed about social or I'm not sure where to go, I always just pick up the phone and I just call you, Onna, and you're so amazing and so helpful. But anyway, I want to give you a second. And not only is she amazing and helpful and knowledgeable, but she's just is kind and genuine and real. Yes, you are. You are
the best. I can do this every day.
When I went to your house that day to pick up protein bars, right?
Yeah.
I ended up it was like 7 p.m. and I don't think I left your house till midnight or something.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
She's a fun person to talk to. But so Onna, just for everybody here, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're passionate about and how you landed in this social media world?
Yeah. So I have 4 kids. I'm a wife, mother, 4 kids, and I've been in social media for the last, I'd say 8 years, but before that, I've been in marketing for about 20 years. So I love just kind of audience and messaging and just how to like talk to people, and get them to understand your message and be part of your community. So when my kids, let's see, I think it was my second child was in middle school, there was some big program and the parents were told to put hashtag on something. And one of the parents said, I have no idea what that means.
How long ago was this?
This was like 5 years ago.
Okay.
I'd say, yeah. And one of the parents said, I have no idea what that means, the hashtag, but my kids teach me everything. And I said, oh, whoa, it's kind of a big deal. Like, you should know what a hashtag is. And your kids shouldn't be teaching you this. And so it's one of those things that you don't realize what people don't know because it's what I live in the world. So I just assume everyone knows what I know. I'm sure it's the same for you. You just assume everyone knows these things that are basic to you.
Yeah, you know what a burpee is. You know what, and people don't.
No, exactly. And so that's why I thought I really felt the need to give the information I've learned through my business, through my work, and with having now 3 teenagers and a younger child to kind of like say, okay, here's what we're doing. Here's what I know. Here's what we've learned. Here's some experts that can help you as well. So that's why I did those things. And those are just like fun passion projects. Really what I get super passionate about is like the marketing side and the audience side, but it's taught me so much about how to treat my kids and help my kids learn social media and my kids learn about marketing.
See, and I know because I've sat with you a lot and I've talked to you, I know your genius with marketing is like out of this world. You really are so good. And I've had so many times where I'm like, gosh, if I could like steal Onna and hire her as like, make her a CEO, if I could have, or a CMO, you really are so full of ideas and you're so great at execution. You're incredible there. But then also there is such a need for this. If you're ever doubting this passion, there's such a need for what you're doing right now for moms. Cause you talk moms, dads, whoever, you talk about that mom that didn't really know what a hashtag was 5 years ago, probably until you started explaining it to me, however long ago that was, I didn't really understand it. And I was that mom and still am sometimes that I'm guilty of saying, oh, Maddox and Marley will teach me. But that's such a dangerous place to be in when your kids are teaching you. And it's like, I know for me, if I don't understand something completely, I'm that mom, and you and I have had this conversation where I'll just say, my kids aren't going to do social media. And I was the mom who did not let my kids have a phone. It took Derek giving the kids a phone and putting restrictions on it. And I did not give them access to social media. It really took someone else because I don't trust myself to be able to monitor. It's a really, really scary thing. So you should know that your passion is something that you should never give up, because you are helping a lot of people. Now, have you ever dealt with any issues with your own kids and social media?
Yeah, like a lot. I have 3 teenagers. Yes.
It's horrible now, huh?
Oh, it's constant. I mean, it's constantly like talking to them and saying, oh, did you see this? I found this. What is happening here? You know what the consequence is. And then we just have to, it's constant. It's constant. But like I say a lot of times too, is I'd rather my kids fail with me than fail out in the world or out away from me. I want them to fail in a safe place, fall with me. And then I can help you and like help you move on and feel confident, but it's not this protect you and put a bubble around you. And then someday they're going to go out into the adult world and have to figure it out. I mean, it doesn't make sense in that way.
I love what you're saying about it. And I mean, people in some of the comments that they were giving before the live, they were saying their biggest stresses about social media are negativity, Snapchat use by kids, being on camera, and the depression that comes with that. All I see is negative news on social media and so much comparison, which obviously leads to depression, anxiety. And it's you. So you say, these parents that are protective, I'm one of them, and put their kids in a bubble. But I have to just being totally authentic and vulnerable. Like, I don't know if it's as much that I am protective, but in a way I'm calling myself out. So if this doesn't apply to any of you that are actually protective, it's lazy parenting on my part, to be totally honest, because I don't want to put forth I want to protect my kids enough to where I don't want them to have it without my guidance, but I don't want to put forth the effort to have to monitor it. And it kind of reminds me, if I go back in the day when I was growing up, and I love that you say fall with you, right? You want them to fall now. When I was being raised, I was constantly grounded, and it was for no good reason. And my dad would say, I'm just trying to protect you. Well, what happened to me, I never fell at all growing up. I was the perfect child. I never made a mistake. I didn't kiss a boy till I was 16, didn't wear makeup till I was 16. I mean, I was so perfect. I had never really made mistakes. And it wasn't until I left my house, and truthfully, after my first divorce, that I ended up falling a lot, and I feel like I had to learn a lot of really hard lessons at 26, 27 that I should have learned when I was 16 at home, if my parents would have let me fall back then. So I do love what you're saying with regard to that.
Yeah. And let me just say about you feeling like you're lazy. Like, I get that. I totally get what you're saying. But if you were really lazy, you would just give them a phone and not care and give them all the hours they wanted. I mean, that's part of like what we say as parents anyway. If I didn't love you, I would let you do whatever you wanted. But because I love you, it's work. It's hard. I mean, there are nights when my kids will come in and some issue has come up and I just think, I don't want to do this right now. I just want to like go to sleep or read a book or relax. But that's part of parenting, right? Is not doing things that you love to do all the time. So if you were lazy, you wouldn't care. You wouldn't be talking about this. You wouldn't be reading stuff. You know, it's just like give yourself some grace there. But I get it too. Like it is work. It is constant conversation. But I think of it as like preemptive. So, you know, it's doing a little bit of work every day instead of having to ground for weeks and having fights later. You know, it's just like, it's probably like working out every day, just like a little bit every day instead of trying to do a marathon.
You're actually spot on, and your expertise with social media is probably like mine with working out. And
that's why it's the comparison.
I get it. So what do you have to say about, I've seen a lot posted on social media. Here I am on social media about the connection between teen depression and social media usage. I'm guessing you get a lot of questions about this. What do you say to parents that come to you and bring this as like an example of like, hey, this is killing my kid. What do I do about, like, what do you tell them?
So the first thing is that what you have to realize is that everything in the media has a reason why they're sharing it. There's something that is leading that messaging. So a lot of times when we talk about kids in social media and teens in social media and the depression, it's fear-based marketing. So they're taking these studies and taking the most outlandish, extreme, and scary parts of a study and putting it in their news article. Why? Because they get more clicks on those news articles. Those articles get shared more often, and then people can react and respond, and they get more views, they get more ad money, they get, right? Like, kind of like take that first. Second, if your child is depressed with being online, like that's different. Don't take what you're reading in the news. Don't take, like, that's all, like, understand where that's being driven from, like the reason for the sharing, and have a little bit of understanding of that. But yes, there's still some real data that says if kids are online more than 2 hours a day, and this isn't including online school, that depression and anxiety increase. Which makes sense. Like, if kids are watching TV for that long, if kids are doing anything that's, you know, looking down, anything, if kids are eating for too long, if kids are, you know, even sports can be too many, you know. So
reading a book for too long, because you get sucked into a world that isn't reality, and you kind of lose track of everything else. And I think it's maybe a result of that too.
Anything. I mean, there's this whole goal of just having a multi-dimensional life, right? Like just getting outside, doing things with other people, like there's art, all that stuff. This is what we want for our kids. So so if your kid personally is having depression and anxiety, then yes, then there's some things you need to do. You need to help take control of it. You need to understand that we're all different. And the things that make me feel alive and excited are not going to be the same for you. And so the things that trigger me are not going to trigger you. And so that's like a one-on-one basis. And you've got to take charge of that. Like, that's on you and your child to figure out what those lines are in the sand that you're drawing, of like, this is how long, this is when we get off, this is the consequence.
Yeah, I love that. And actually, in one of your ebooks, let me find it real quick.
Drink some water.
It's the Get Smart Guide. I love, you have this, I tabbed it, there it is, the Smart Online Plan. I love it. It's actually one of the first pages I kind of flipped to because I was flipping from the back. But can you explain what like this, what is the Smart Online Plan? Like you have each letter means something different. Like S is for safety. Yeah.
So the reason why I have both plans in every one of the books or guides is that I want you to do it with your child. And so I'm not going to tell you this is how many hours and this is when you can have things, because every family is so different. And I don't know your situation. Only you know your situation. And so you write those things with your child or children. And then my favorite part of it is when it's done and completed and everyone signs it and I put it up on the fridge or wherever, and the child does something that we agreed that they wouldn't do, then I can just point to the contract and go, oh shoot, this was the consequence. Oh, you said, remember, that was what we agreed. And it's not like me coming out of nowhere saying, oh, you're grounded from this.
That's how it is for me right now. I'm like, I'm taking your shoes away because there's really nothing but taking time and being aware of like even just reading through it. I'm like, okay, I love it. Like, number one, I will never give out my information to anyone online. This includes my address, school, family names, phone number, birthday, and more. Like everything in this little smart contract thing. I'm like, it's so much that I feel like if I would have just had this one pager 2 years ago, it probably would have shifted my perspective on how to deal with teens and social media. But you don't even really, as a parent that doesn't understand it, it's like completely, it's a world that I don't even want to dive into. I'm so scared of it. Now, that's teen world.
But that one's actually for the whole family. That's like 3 and up, the SMART guide, because that's online. We think our kids know these things. We assume they understand that you shouldn't share your address or talk to strangers because they know, because they know all these little things. So we're like, oh, they get it. But they don't know those basic things like sharing your birthday. They have to be told that and then told why. And then they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But we just think they know. We assume that they know that. They don't.
So true. So then if you had to give ages, like age appropriateness to different platforms or online platforms, what would you say? Because I'm curious as a parent. I've heard a lot of people unsure as well, but like when should kids start being able to go online without, I mean, not really without supervision, because you always need to supervise, right? But like then also Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of this. What's your recommendation?
Well, there are a lot of things for kids. That's why this is 3 and up, because your kids are getting online when they're 3 years old, right? They're turning on these apps, or these iPads and things. But the COPPA, it's the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, that was instituted by the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, in like the late 90s. This is an act that all businesses that operate within the US have to follow. And it says that you cannot collect any information from a child under the age of 13, any personal information. So it's a law. It is meant to protect children, but also meant to protect businesses. So it's like good for everyone. So people say, well, my kid's mature. It's like, it's not just about your kid. It's about all children. It's about the family. It's about who your kids are friends with. It's about the businesses as well. Like it is all encompassing. So most of these apps, these Instagrams and Twitters and Facebook and most of these, I'm trying to think, Snapchat, all of them are like 13 and up. So you're supposed to put in a check mark that, yes, I am 13 or older for this reason.
So then just talking about Snapchat, because Snapchat is something, and again, I'm the person that doesn't understand a burpee in the social media world, right? I hear so much negativity around Snapchat. I have one. I don't use it. I don't really understand how to use it. But in my mind, I'm like, what's so bad about Snapchat compared to like TikTok? Or, I mean, all of these platforms I feel like are equal to me. The real devastating part about social media is not so much what I'm posting, but it's what I'm glued to. I'm glued to everybody else's life. I'm glued to seeing what they're all doing that I'm not doing. I'm like hooked on this idea that they have all their crap together and I don't, or, oh my gosh, I wish I had that. And even I look at, I tell Marley, I say, hey, I'm okay if you post on TikTok, but I don't want you sitting there for hours watching all these girls dance, because all you're going to think about is what they can do that you can't. I'm telling you, because I've been there. But like, tell me, what is it about Snapchat or all these platforms that makes it so devastating in your opinion? Like, what can make it bad? And what can we do to focus on the good?
Okay, so yeah, that's a lot of layers. Like Snapchat, for just to start off, I tell this to my kids all the time. I love that. I think Snapchat's just dying, and it is. I mean, the user rate's dying. Everything about Snapchat's dying. So I like to just tell my kids, like, oh, it's dying. You should get off it. Like, don't be the last one to hold on to a dying app, because Snapchat is. I'm like, you want to be cool, like don't do that. Don't do Snapchat. But the thing about Snapchat is that it's a lot of like private conversations, and it feels really private, even though it's not. You know, that's one of the things that I teach over and over in these courses and things. But it's like, if you understand that all of your information is being saved on this third party ISP, and another, all these internet service providers, they're holding on to your information. And if your kids kind of get that, they realize that nothing is actually private, it kind of flips it a little bit in their heads of like, oh, I'm not having these private conversations, which Snapchat originally really pushed and made people feel like it was private and secret. And so that's how they got so many people using it. And then everyone found out that they actually were saving the content. Duh. Of course they were.
Yeah.
Anyone that's like in the world of online is like, well, yeah, they were. And like 99% of people who didn't know go, wait, what? You were saving this? Like, yes, they were saving it.
Yeah.
So that's Snapchat. TikTok, there are there are negatives on anything. Anything we use, there are negatives. I like to always compare it to cars. Just that's always my go-to analogy for anything online and social media, because cars are really dangerous. Cars shouldn't be driven by someone that doesn't know how to do it and hasn't had like a parent in the car with them teaching them like all that stuff. And cars can be really terrifying. It's a major vehicle that can hurt and maim, right? But it's also not something we want to give up, and it gives us a lot of freedoms and connection, and they're amazing tools as well. So that's the same thing with social media and with internet and with these apps, is that they can be really good for our kids. They can connect our kids to people. They can help our kids feel not alone. They can inspire them. They can educate them. There's so much of that. But it's about like setting those parameters. So for TikTok, it's crazy addictive. I mean, I don't know have you gotten there yet?
I've spent a few nights wishing I hadn't spent a few nights surfing it.
Yeah. It's like there's something about those quick videos and the swipeability of it that is like time waster.
And like, I find myself, because they're so fast, I'm constantly replaying them so I can actually see it. And then I'm like, and then another one pops up really fast. Like, they've done a really good job themselves pushing from like actual TikTok, pushing from one video to the next, to where people are, you're sucked in. Like Instagram, you have to take the effort of like scrolling. Yeah. But TikTok, it just kind of moves for you. And you're like, oh, it's really, it's hard and amazing. And I hate it.
I know, but there's so much like for the kids, like not just the dancing part. Yeah. There's a lot of like education. My daughter and I were just going through, she's 18, and we were just going through some of her favorite accounts she likes to follow. Yeah. Sorry, my mom keeps calling me. I thought I turned it off. Sorry, Mom. I'll call you back.
Doing live too every time. They have a sense on them.
I know. But my daughter was showing me these accounts that she liked, and they were really interesting. Like one was this human anatomy, and this scientist who's in this lab with all these cadavers showing really cool things about anatomy. And then she's like, oh, this is one of my favorite accounts. And then she was showing me like, oh, this person's really cool with how they add collage layering and stuff. And so, we have to allow our kids to also discover things. But for me, I just set time limits. So it's, time limits on the TikTok. That makes me sound old. Yeah. No, but you set time limits on certain apps. And then they have to ask for more. And then that's how and then I think talking to your daughter about comparison is totally helpful. It's just like, I know this is something I struggle with. Do you struggle with it too? Yeah. And that's just the conversation.
I love that. And I think you just hit on something that my mind kept coming back to, and everything you're saying, it really does feel like open conversation and just awareness in general is the biggest thing. And having your kid feel okay talking to you is a really big deal. I've had to learn as a parent that I was always a very strict, harsh parent, but I learned a few years back that because I was that way, they weren't coming to me for anything, and they were hiding it, and the more you are like, hey, if you do this, then I'm going to do this, you have to allow that space. Like you said, you have to allow them to fall and let them know that you're going to catch them, but also teach them through it. So open conversation's big. I love what you touched on. Nothing's ever private online, like drilling that in. And luckily I've had some really good experiences with my kids, because I always say, I hear about everything. Like there's not a thing you can do that I'm not going to find out about. And for the most part, it's true, because I have a lot of people that want to tell me and Chris what's going on, through whatever. So I've caught my kids and stuff, and I'm like, you don't understand. My thing now is, you're not in trouble if you tell me, but you're in trouble if I find out, and so that nothing is ever private thing. I really love instilling that in. I have a feeling it's going to take, a lesson with my kids where they actually have to learn it firsthand before it sinks in. And sometimes that's how it happens. The car analogy is so good too, because it's just like with everything in the world, there's these big, powerful, valuable tools that we have, and we have to understand how great they are, but we also need to understand how they can hurt us. And every time I think of that, I think of Elsa.
Oh, I'm like, okay.
Not you, the other one. But I think Elsa, and it's kind of, I use that analogy for my girls a lot. I'm like, you guys have some incredibly powerful gifts. Like the world, it's just like Elsa, some great gifts, but also you can hurt people with them. And social media is that way. It's a great gift, but it can hurt as well. So I really love, and then time limit. So what's your recommendation with time limit if a parent doesn't know where to start?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know where to start really, really small, just like with anything. I mean, again, back to the car. If you've taught a child how to drive, you're not like, okay, let's go out for an hour. You're like, okay, let's try it for 5 minutes. And then you're going to scare me. And you slowly like give them a little bit more and a little bit more. I mean, I would do it like that. Like, and always with the relationship being the most important part, right? So instead of it going, this is what I'm doing for you, saying, how do you feel about if we gave you 15 minutes and you could come to me and said, I just need X amount more. Like, just how do you feel about that? What do you think is a good amount of time? I'm always shocked for my own kids. And I tell this to people, and they say it's the same thing for them, most of them, that when you give your kids the option, like, well, how long do you think you should be on? It's always less than I would have said. Or like, if I say, how long do you think you should have your phone taken away? It's always longer than I would have said. They're like, but then I come in as the very kind person that it says, oh, that's really good. But what if we did less? What if it was only like 5 days?
And then with your points, you're a better mom in their eyes.
You're the good guy, I mean, I'm sure there are going to be some people that come, some kids that are like 10 minutes, that I should be grounded. And you're like, well,
I have my oldest is that way. Maddox is that way. And I'm like, okay, he's way on the opposite end of the spectrum. And then I have Marley, who's the one that's like, oh, take it away for a month. I'm so sorry. I'm like, maybe like 5 hours, Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing, is like having them both together, or all 4 of your kids together, making the decision, it's like, oh, well, Maddox says 10 minutes and Marley says 10 days. What do you guys think is somewhere good in the middle? Like you can almost use them to help each other. Like, okay, does that sound good? Or do we all agree? And
a really good idea.
Like I say too, is I don't want anyone coming and telling me anything, but giving me any rules. I'm like, no. But when someone comes in, like if my husband says, this is all the time you get with internet, I'd be like, what? Who are you? Why are you telling me this? Like our kids are the same way. We want them to grow up to be adults who can make good decisions. So we can't just be constantly telling them what we decided. They need to be part of the decision making, because someday they are making their own decisions, and they need to like work through those really thoughtful patterns that go, oh wait, that makes more sense because now I'm on my own and I remember having those conversations.
Yeah, I like that. Now, do you feel like every child is different? I know every child's different, but do you feel like within a family there could be different guidelines for each child, or have you seen that it's best to implement and enforce the same guidelines across the board?
Well, of course they're different. And I think the age helps. And it just helps us to say, like, okay, when you're 13, we can start talking about this. And based on these criteria that we set as a family, then we know if you're prepared for this. Because my kids will do that. Like, well, Johnny had this
Yeah.
and this when he was my age. I know he did. And
Yeah.
we learned things and this changed and he did this. Like, that's just life, right? With kids, with everything.
Yeah.
But I think, like, in a contract type situation, to have at least benchmarks, like if you are doing all of these things and you're this age and you're showing maturity and you're getting your chores done or whatever it is, like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because with mine, it's mine and Derek's, the two oldest. What we implemented, and I also think with when it's a split family, because there's a lot of split families out there, it's been super valuable for he and I to be on the same page, me and Derek. Not even as much Chris, because we have to remember those children are going to go to another house where they're going to try and work the system. And so for us to be on the same page has been huge in controlling it. But like we decided for Maddox has had an Instagram for a little while, but he doesn't have the password. So if he wants to use it, maybe, again, this is the very protective parents. If he wants to use it, he can use it on my phone or Derek's phone when we say, so we monitor everything. And then we just decided for Marley, she could have a TikTok. She doesn't have Instagram, but she can have a TikTok. And here are her rules. Like, you can't spend more than X number of times surfing. I like the idea of TikTok for her because I feel like it stokes her creativity and allows her to, even like her dancing, it's helping her become a better dancer because she's learning choreography. So in our family, I do feel like the different platforms, I've kind of been like, hey, I don't want her on Instagram because I feel like she's more susceptible to get stuck in the comparison game by looking. And I don't want Maddox on TikTok because I feel like he's going to look at all the wrong things. So it's kind of like we have made and then we both just the other night got Maddox saying, wait, you're letting Marley have a TikTok, but not me. And we're like, yeah, we are. So it's just kind of like we had to be the bad guy. It's like I had to remember for a minute, like I'm here to be their parent, not their best friend. And I have my reasons and I'm going to try to explain it the best that I can to them. But at the end of the day, I think with kids, we have to just remember it's not always going to make sense in the moment. We can do our best to explain it. But I look at my relationship with my mom. A lot didn't make sense until I was out of the house and I had my own kids. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Like now I know why you did this. And I know you were trying your best. But talking about monitoring kids' social media use, because that was a question we got from a couple different people. How often and how much monitoring should be happening?
I'm laughing because it's like, this is one of those questions that I say, but I don't do. Because I'd be like, every day you should be. I mean, genuinely, like every day you should be checking to see how much they're on it and having a quick check-in conversation. I mean, we try to do it. Like my kids know that even if they bought their own phone, their phones are mine. Like any phone in this home is my property. And so I have all the passwords. I can get in whenever I want. I can look at, and I love actually looking at their text message threads with them right by me. I'm like, does this make you feel weird? Does it make you feel uncomfortable? Should you have written that? Is that weird? Is this weird that I'm reading that? They're like, a little bit. Stop saying that. I'm like, well, maybe you shouldn't write it. You shouldn't write it if you're going to feel weird. But I don't do those nearly enough. But the other thing is it's just there's like, I know that there's a lot of ways to jailbreak. So like to kind of break into and manipulate screen time if you have an Apple phone.
Scary. Yeah.
No, like my kids can do it, but it's really also easy to see when they have. Like I'm just showing you my son's, He looks really good because it's only showing Sunday. So, you know, can you see that?
Yep.
So
Yep.
it just shows, yeah. And like I set all these different app limits and the downtime, like when it's turned off and all of his limits. But like you can see easily how long he was on his phone. That's the one thing that's actually awesome that they can't manipulate is their time spent on the phone. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it does. So I had actually set up screen time for Maddox back in the day before I smashed his phone. Did I ever tell you about the incident where I
saw that.
Yeah. I really did. Great parenting, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Chuck it at the ground.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had set up screen time for him. And I thought I had done it, like, I don't remember what our limits were, but we had kind of discussed it. Come to find out, he's so much smarter than I am. And he had completely manipulated the entire thing and knew all the ins and outs and the loopholes. And I mean, then I start hearing from people that there's like burner phones at school, because I started taking his phone. There are burner phones at school. And it just, and for me, I got to the point where I was like, gosh, I can't even, I'm taking it away. And it actually took Derek getting some stuff set up on another phone, because I would not give Maddox's phone back, and said, hey, I'm going to monitor it. And he's been really great at monitoring it. But for parents like me, I know this is an excuse, but I am so busy. And I feel like I'm just going to have one pulled over on me over and over and over. If I even give my kids a phone with any kind of technology, or, you know, even if I put protection on it, what's the top app that you recommend that's easy for parents to use that actually creates boundaries?
That's what's hard is, you know, like I've worked with Bark Technologies. They're really good. BARK, like a dog, Bark, because they have a lot of good things that are working on it. But the problem is with every app or protection or filter, there are plenty. And there are a lot of people who research this specifically and have really good suggestions for this. Yeah. So, but my fear and concern with any of them is that they are so easily broken. Right? There's so many ways to break it, or to go into a corner of your house where the Wi-Fi doesn't cover that app or whatever, you know, or go to your grandparents' house and then you can find new ways to get into things, which is why, you know, it's there's some programs that are building right now that are actually the phone itself has the hardware to prevent these things. And those I think are going to be really exciting. When those come out, I think that's going to actually change for people. But that being said, it's really about, for me, checking in every night for literally 1 minute and seeing how long they were on their phone. Like that's the number one.
So, because Derek, he knows, I get filled in almost every other day on a conversation or something that was going on with Maddox. And the kids will come back to me and tattle and be like, Dad saw this and this, you know, and I'll be like, well, you know, that's kind of the part of having a phone. Like, you get to be checked on. And so he is really, how long does it take you, Derek? Like, how long do you spend?
5 minutes.
He says he spends 5 minutes every night and looks through it.
Yeah, it's not that long. Like, even just like seeing the 57 minutes, and I know how much time I've given him. Sorry, it's scary. Then I can just go to him instead of me, because I can go and search and find it. And sometimes I do, depending on what's happened recently in our relationship or with whatever he's been going through. But a lot of times I'll just say, hey, what's up? I saw your time. What's going on? Like you said, I'm giving you the time to tell me before I have to go figure it out. And then you're in more trouble. Yeah. But so many times he's like, well, I figured out if I restarted it or did this at midnight or gave myself this. Like, there's thousands of ways that he's figured out, and he's an amazing, good kid. But still, there are times when he just wants to break free, you know, and not have the confines like we all do, like we all have in our lives. Like, I just don't want to stick to this right now. And so when he can fail with me, then I go, okay, well, so this is what we have to do now, because that wasn't a good choice. And I've lost a little bit of trust right now. So what should we do? We figured out, you know what I'm saying? Like, but someone had asked the question you had brought up, or I'd seen that, like, how do you help your kids when there are other adults posing as kids? you know, and that's the big fear. And I think that comes from our childhood of like Stranger Danger and maybe Lifetime movies, especially because it's real and we know that it exists, right? And we always see these really scary news articles and things. But that's the kind of thing that something like a bark technology can help with your child. Something like those with the filters that help our kids be able to not be prone to those things. But it's also the conversation of like why we're not sharing our age and our birthday and where we live. And if anyone's asking, you know, one of the things I tell my kids, and I think it's in one of the courses is, or the guides, is like, if someone sends you a message and you don't know them, you don't recognize their name from school, you do not have to open that message.
Yeah.
In fact, delete the message right away. Because, you know, these industries know how to get kids to open a message.
Yeah.
They say like, why are you not listening to me? Why are you ignoring me? What did I do?
Relation. Yeah. I know. Yeah. It is sad and scary. Now, if you were to get, so one thing I was curious about and you answered it. I was going to say, so when your child messes up or makes a mistake, when you respond, is it in that tone? Do you keep calm? Have you made the mistake before blowing up at your kid? Have you?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Go ahead.
And I was going to say, and what happens when you do blow up at them?
Yeah. So it was actually like, again, my oldest son had come to me. He was like 4. I don't remember. He was little. And with an iPad, like our first iPad, and it had an ad on it from one of those free apps with the ads. This was before there was a lot more regulation, but it was the most graphic content I have ever seen in my life. Yeah. And my little child is bringing it to me, and I feel immediate shame. I feel shame that I gave my child something that showed them something that was going to burn into their life. So I responded and reacted like, what were you doing? What was this? What's going on? Because I felt the shame. And then they felt my shame. They didn't feel like I had their back. They felt like they were in trouble. And that was a huge teaching moment for me that I've thought of a lot. Like when they come to you, that's the whole goal, is to get them to come to you, right? And that's why we practice it in the SMART guide, is like when you see something that is not just like, I don't want people to think that porn is the only thing that's bad. I mean, it's things that are scary, things that make you uncomfortable, things that are like, there are thousands of responses our kids can have, and they need someone like us, an adult, who can help them get through it. And so let's practice. And what do you do? And I feel like the practicing helps me respond. Yeah. Because then I have to remind myself, like, no, we practiced this. And I say, what did you see? What can I help you with? Was there something you want to talk about? Like, okay, you leave it with me and I'll take care of it. Like, you did nothing wrong.
Yes.
Especially if something happens to them, or like this happens, it's okay. We're going to like get to the next step, because we want our kids to come to us. We want them to fail with us.
Yeah.
And our shame cannot become their shame. That's the hardest part.
Yeah. And I've noticed that with me in parenting, sometimes we tend to mirror, like kind of project like how we feel or what we feel guilty of. We throw it on them. And I've learned, I think, hey, we're all human. We all make mistakes, but I've learned that that's not an effective way of parenting in my house, you know, but then I also know every parent's different. So if someone watching this has a different way of doing it.
Right. But like, when you talk about burner phones at school or kids getting on these different things, I mean, who wants to go to a parent that is going to automatically yell at them or ground them or tell them that? No. And I'm guaranteeing that most of these kids, I mean, I've had this conversation all the time with people who are like, my kids aren't on social media. I say, right, but they see social media. They're online. Their friends are showing them.
And I didn't realize you can go look up, like, my kids didn't have social media, and I found out they were going to Instagram online. I didn't even know you could do that. I didn't know you could look at accounts.
You can go to everything online. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's how their businesses grow and how they get better search engine optimization, blah, blah, blah. You know, like it all keeps filtering through. And so if they feel like they're hiding something from you, and they fail, when they fail, that's what I always say. It's not if you see something, it's when you see something. Yeah. Like, who are they going to go to? Now they have to keep that even more. And then that's that's like the festering wound that's like, I don't know who can help me with this, so I might as well just keep looking because I'm all alone. Like, we don't want our kids to feel alone. Like, it's not our job to make our kids feel more scared. It's our job to make our kids feel more prepared to become adults who can like tackle things as they grow. So that's the hard thing, is we want to be like these really strict, strong parents, and there's a place for strictness, but it also, there's a lot of place for just like, I'm your advocate. I'm the person you fail with. I mean, we have lots of rules. Like, that's the one thing I always tell people, like, when they go, well, your kids just can look at everything. No way, no way.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of like, okay, now what?
You're involved. There's a lot of involvement. I think that's such a big word in social, like with parenting and social media. You just have to be involved with your kid. If you were to give us one app that parents should not let their kids have, or one platform, and then one that is the safest. So give me the two extremes for kids.
Like kids?
Teens. I would say kids. Like we'll go 13. The beginning age for social media.
Oh my goodness. I mean,
give your kids this app.
I feel like Snapchat is, I feel like it's a big waste, and I feel like the personality situation, or I don't know, what am I trying to say? The behaviors that it really tries to instill in kids and teens is something I don't want my kids to have. And there's like layers of that. And also I love that it's dying, so I'm kind of grateful for it.
Almost like the hiding aspect of Snapchat. Is that what you're saying?
Their streak is the thing I'm really talking about. They have this whole streak, Snapchat streaks. And so every day you post and you get this like really long streak. And so it's a very addictive quality. Like, and a lot of these things that we're trying to steer our kids away from when they become adults are these addictive type personality things that you're going to an app or to a website or to an external space to kind of get this fill. So that's the one that I just think it's just kind of a big waste. But there are a lot of really bad ones. I just can't think of any ones that come off the top of my mind right now. There's a lot of questions about TikTok, and you'd kind of shown me something that my husband and I were talking about earlier too, about was he a House representative or a senator? Who was that?
Who was that? What was this again?
It was the TikTok, the guy that was like, let's not have TikTok in government, U.S. government.
Oh, yes.
I'm trying to remember.
Yep.
Anyway.
Guy's name, the thing that I sent to you. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And my husband had sent it to me like, hey, just FYI. And I'm like, I know, I get it. So what's really interesting to me about TikTok is that their guidelines are very strict. So, people, you can find a lot of things on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc., that you cannot find on TikTok. And that is like abuse, nudity, drug use, suicidal talks, body dysmorphia or body issues, any kind of like cutting, any self-harm, any, you know what I'm saying? Like there's so many regulations, and they take down content really, 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 really fast. And yet there's
Onna, I'm sitting here like this because I do this a lot with I had a video where Marley and I were doing a thing, and I this is like a natural stance for me. And they pulled it down. I had started just like this. They pulled it down. I read in detail the guidelines. I'm like, what did I even breach? So I went back to my phone, watched the video. I'm like, I wonder if they thought it was a symbol of a gun, but I literally sit like this.
Smoking, or I mean, there's like a lot of stuff, or, there's like a sexual thing. Like they cut down a lot. So it's very like, but you still get major cursing, right? So you have to like train the app and stuff. And there are things like that. But people are terrified because it's a Chinese built app.
Got it.
So it's one of those things where I understand the fear, and yet I guess I'm a little bit, I don't know if the right word is jaded, but because every app you're on, every time you give permission, like I just gave permission to be on this podcast to this new site, this new Crowdcast.io, right? So I've given them permission to collect information about me. Like as soon as you got an email and a smartphone, you gave away so much of your permissions. I mean, this is retargeting, why you get ads from websites you've been to. I mean, this is stuff we've been working in for the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's like, if anyone really wanted this information, they could get this information. I don't know why people are more terrified, because the information is literally everywhere.
Yeah.
So
that does make sense. Yeah.
So I don't know. But the safest, I don't know. The safest, I think we do ourselves a disservice thinking anything is safe.
Good answer. Very, very good answer, which is why people need your guides. And I don't want to go away without you telling us a little bit about, and I know you have a great discount right now that you're running for anyone watching this. Tell us a little bit about them.
So I have 3, and one is the Get Smart, and that's for 3 and up. And that's just like internet safety. And it's really just basic conversations, and you let your kids, like you're saying something, and then you listen to what your kids have to say. And these are what these are. They're not like, there's a lot of information in there for you, but mostly they are like guided conversations, because I'm not going to be teaching you, and your kids don't want to listen to me. They want to tell what they think. They want to be part of this conversation, because that's how we choose for ourselves, is by conversation. Yes. And then the Let's Talk is for kids who want to be on social media. So that's, obviously it's like 13 at least.
Is this for kids to read or for me to read?
Also for families to read together. Okay. There's parts that are just for the parents to read. And then there's like, again, the conversations and like, did you knows? And this is interesting because teens need to know. Like there's even a whole section of when you feel like you don't want to follow someone online. I mean, that's real for teens.
Yeah.
Like
it's real for adults.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't you following me anymore? Or why did they do this to me? Like what you can do to protect yourself, because you matter more than that. And so kind of those types of things. And so it's if you feel like you should be on any kind of social media. So
okay, awesome. And I love that there's social media age, usage, privacy, etiquette. There's a lot in this book. This one right here.
And then the TikTok was just an addendum because
which I'm excited about this.
Because it's new and everyone wants to know. And there's just like basic things like how to make your account private if you want to, and what the benefits are, and just basic things for kids and parents to understand about TikTok.
Awesome.
And then TikTok's not going anywhere. Let's just be honest. Like it's
okay. No matter who's running TikTok, which government, people are only going to hop on more.
It is taken off. I know.
Okay, so what isn't there a discount code that they can enter? Or is it already?
It's on the site, just right there. It's just for like, no one else has the link, but it was just, usually they sell the 2 first guides sell for $27 each. And we're just doing all 3 of them. So it's like buy one, get one free plus the TikTok. So it's just all 3 for $27.
Okay. Awesome. Super excited. Onna, thank you so much. There was so good info in here. I feel like I need to like rewatch this just to get all the info that I need about it. And I need to read all of your books. I know this is going to help a ton of people. So thank you.
Thanks, Heidi.
An hour with me.
Anytime.
Oh, and everybody else, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I say this every time. I think every guest gets better and better and better.
Oh.
And they're all different. They're all the best in their own way. Super excited about next guest as well. But Onna, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to top you.
I don't think so. I'm going to go tell Sadie. You said I was better than her. So that's going to be great. I'm just kidding.
She was awesome. All right. Thank you to everybody. Onna, thank you so much. And I will see you guys all next time. Bye. Did it end? There we go. Ended. Is it ended? Wait, no, I'm back. I'm still here. I think I have to, you guys. Good thing I didn't start cursing. Just kidding. I wouldn't curse. Onna was amazing. All right, guys, signing off. Mwah.